What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hockey Collectors Roundtable from Instagram. This is episode 4. Really excited to be here with you all today. We've got a couple of returning guests in Trevor and Al, who was just here last week. Al was so excited about this topic that he's like, I got to be here for this. So he made it. And then one of the few people we haven't had on yet, Mr. Gold Prism slash, what is it? Not Stature, but Synergy Clear. Mr. Set
Yep.
Collector himself, Kyle, has made it. How's it going, dude?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Happy to have you here, man. Love the collection, by the way. We've had some really good discussions about those sets that you put together, and I think we can all appreciate how your page is all like aesthetically pleasing because it's just like a bunch of gold prisms, a bunch of the clears, a bunch of the purples, a bunch of the prisms. Like it's very well put together. So yeah, happy to have you here and share a little bit about that. And we're all going to talk about the community today, which I think we can all agree without the community that we're a part of now, which, encompasses so much more than Instagram. But on Instagram alone, I think without that, our collections are definitely not where they're at now. And that's one of the more, I think, things that I'm proud of as a collector is the connections that I've built over the few years that I've been here. So we're going to share about that in general. But because it's going to be kind of a quick episode, we want to start from the beginning and kind of work our way up. And everybody kind of think about back when Trevor and Kyle and I were kids and Al was still teaching. The only way really to get cards was to go to card shows or card shops or maybe like, Walmart or something, get a box and open packs, right? But back in the 90s and 80s, in person was really the only way you could really build some connections and make some trades and purchases. I want everybody to think back to that. Like, what's your first memory of making an in-person deal, whether it was at a card shop or with a friend, maybe when you traded? Does anything come to mind off the top of your heads?
Well, I could probably start this off. I wouldn't want to go back as far as my childhood because as far as that goes, I'd place it more in kind of a bonding with my father, opening up packs during holidays, especially Christmas, bonding with him, going to the expo for the first time and just seeing the almost overwhelming amount of cards there in comparison to you couldn't find anywhere else, right? eBay was just new and a little bit sketchy. So after that point, I got back in 2015-ish area, and then I started going back to card shops because that was kind of the bread and butter with my father. So I found a card shop down in Toronto and probably found one of my closest hobby relations in that card shop. He was actually working there at the time, Chris, and he's on Instagram as well. And we have great chats all the time, and it all kind of started with going in, getting recommendations to kind of get back into buying product, breaking it, enjoying, seeing what types of sets there were. And I go in there and I was just really in there for buying a box, opening it up, spending 30, 45 minutes there, and we just start talking, rambling about cards, about experiences, sports in general, and I'd end up there for 4 or 5 hours. I'd end up leaving at 9 o'clock. I'd show up at 4 p.m. Right, so a little bit crazy, but that kind of went on for a year or so, and then after that, we kind of did things like go to the expo. He'd set up, I'd walk around. We'd do in-person deals. We'd help each other out with cards. So he knew what I was looking for, and I was on the ball as far as what he was looking for. He had the Series 1 and 2 fluorescents as soon as that started in 2017. So we've always kind of looked out for each other in that regards because we built such a strong bond. Just over life, honestly, throughout the years as well. So just in that aspect, kind of building such a rock solid friendship over 5+ years, and it all starting in a hobby shop, which was kind of where it all started realistically, right? You go into a Walmart or a hobby shop, you buy a blaster of 2002 tops cards and rip it with your dad, and then going back there and talking to somebody who's working there. They no longer work at the hobby shop, but building up that bonds and just being able to, I wouldn't call it talk shop, but just enjoy yourself throughout the hobby and get to know the person better, and then kind of be involved with each other's lives further, right? So that's one thing that'll always stand out to me is that one relationship. So
it's hard to top meeting somebody in person and building up, that friendship and that bond together in the same space. I think a lot of us maybe take that for granted because so many of us have built up these great connections through Instagram, but Al or Trevor, do either of you have any memories that are similar to that, where you went into a card shop, maybe met somebody there or made a connection in person that way?
Yeah. Go ahead, Trevor.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily at a card shop. My trading experience has kind of come later in my hobby lifetime. Early on, I definitely traded cards with my friends, but it was really just, cards that other people would throw away. We just would trade for our favorite players.
Right.
Nothing too crazy, but I've definitely had some great experiences. Going to local shows. There's a couple guys, the same guys that do hockey, and going there and working with them kind of every month or every couple months has definitely been a good experience and given me good rapport with them. And they always kind of let me know and are looking out for me if they have new stuff. But yeah, also at the expo, definitely, people quickly learned that I was looking for bolt stuff up there and had an eye out for me. So it was kind of nice to see. There was one guy, I think he's actually in the group, Seth, Drop the Puck Cards. He traded me a couple Stamkos cards that I was after up there that he happened to have. And yeah, a couple other just quick and easy deals. But yeah, I think people are kind of always looking out for one another at shows.
Just shows the importance of building up those connections in person, you know what I mean? And really taking the time to do that. I think it works out for both people really well. How about yourself, Al?
Well, for me, trading night at the local card store was where I sort of started spreading out a little bit more. I joined eBay in July of '99. So the first 4, 5, maybe even 6 years, it was me in the basement on eBay. And that's how I grew my collection. And then I started going to the trading nights and met some people there. And so for me, it's more than just about the cards. It's having those conversations. Maybe they kind of push you outside your comfort zone in the hobby sense. So they're saying, "Oh, you should take a look at this or try this," and something I'd never thought of maybe before. So I'll start off with one fellow. His name's Carl, and the neat thing with him is that he didn't really have a strong social media presence. He sold some cards online, but not a lot. But he knew that I was an Aginla collector. And so I've got 3 cards here from him that I wanted to show. One is dual shield. So Aginla on the one side and Niedermeyer on the other.
Wow.
Okay. And this is the thing, I didn't buy tins of the cup. So for me to see something like this was really something special. And then another one.
I think Trevor's ears just perked up a little bit. He saw the shield, like, hey, ooh.
And then Bowmeister on the back. And that's auto shield. Okay.
Yeah, those are gorgeous cards.
Thanks. Yeah. And then this one. So it's a 1-of-1 as well. It's letters of distinction. It's the captain's game used Captain Patch. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Now, the neat thing too about this is that these are 3 separate deals over 3 separate years. So he wasn't somebody who showed up every trading night, but he would come every once in a while. And when he would get a card like that, he made sure that he would come and he would look for me and say, "Hey, guess what I just got?" And we would do that in-person deal. So that was, I mean, great for me to be able to get cards like that without even having to look for them, really.
Well, that makes me think of too. I mean, you're talking about having a deal once every year. There, basically, I mean, you've had to really maintain a pretty good connection with this person in between these purchases, I would think, right? I mean, how were we able to maintain, a strong relationship with that collector so that when those cards came around, you had a chance to purchase them again?
Well, we exchanged phone numbers. That was the main thing. I mean, we didn't hang out or anything outside of trading night.
Okay.
He was pretty busy. I was very busy at that time too, with my career. So, yeah, it was just basically trading night is when we would connect.
And it's just funny to think about trading night. I think for I don't know about for Kyle and Trevor, but that would usually mean finding some friends in the neighborhood or at school or something. You would bring your cards and you try to do a trade. And I recently did a couple of trading days in my classroom at the very end of a Friday, and it was really interesting to watch my students, work out a trade and show them how to shake hands and how to work with each other. Because they'd always be like, "I want that Charizard for these 3 Pokemon cards that are worth nothing," So, but yeah, it's funny. I don't have a whole lot of memories from those kinds of things. Kyle or Trevor, any trade night, does that trigger anything in your brain?
Yeah, I definitely have had a few trade nights. Again, when I was kind of first getting back into it, I didn't have any focus or anything like that. I just picked up whatever I thought was cool at the time, or whatever was the most popular, such as Young Guns and Future Watch Autos.
Yeah.
So trading was definitely a lot easier at that point. So trade nights were generally a hit. Nowadays, when trades happen, it's far and few between, but they're almost magical. So they kind of hit the sweet spot. Somebody has a card that I need to fill in a set hole, and I have something that they really want, and it works out for both of us. And it's tough to find those ones, but when it does happen, there's no other feeling like it, I gotta say.
Trevor, now that you're into the hockey, and it's funny that he said I kind of collected whatever I thought was cool, because you told me in your interview, like, I started with football and those cards are cool and those cards are cool. And then you're like, wait a second, hockey is where it's at. But you've had to have made a pretty, neat trade, at least since the time that you've been in here. Does anything stick out as a trade, like the first big trade that you made work?
The first big trade that I made work, I traded and I was very happy with it, and I think the other end was very happy, and I think he still is. But it was Andrei Vasilevsky Premier RPA Gold out of 10. I traded that away and got a Cooch. I think Ultimate Skills Shield is what it's called. So I was very happy with that, obviously, as a Shield collector. And then I traded it to Kevin Sherman, Bolts Beauties on Instagram. And it completed his rainbow for Vazzy for the Premier RPA, other than the 101. So he was happy with that as well. But yeah, I did, like I said, I did several trades at the expo that I think, both sides were happy with.
Right.
I traded away one of my Coach Shields actually for another one. It was kind of the only way that I could acquire the one that I wanted. So was very happy with that trade. But with trade nights, I really honestly haven't had any luck. I've gone to a couple. We've had a couple big shows here in Tampa, and I've gone to the trade nights. But my experience, and this has just been in the past couple of years, is everybody at trade nights just kind of wants, a really good deal. And, it's not about what you have. It's just kind of about the price that you're kind of willing to give it away at. So that was just kind of my experience, which I know isn't too positive, but
I think that just shows the importance, though, of at least now that social media has such a major part of collecting. At least I think for all of us, is the Instagram Hockey Collectors Roundtable, right? Like this is all about what we've been able to accomplish on that platform. I feel like it's so nice to build a really strong connection. Like for instance, Kyle and I have chatted before and we've done a deal, but once you do your first deal and you build up that trust, then if he and I were going to do a trade, we can slowly work through the process. Kyle's not looking, he knows that I'm not going to give it away for free. I know that Kyle's not going to give it away for free. We're all four of us here are very knowledgeable collectors. So we've already established that we're not looking for some sort of deal, right? So I think that is an advantage as opposed to doing a trade night in person. Again, dogs are saying hello, everybody. Yes, they have to do it every episode. But it really is a benefit to be able to meet people online and do that, and work through the process of trading. I'm so glad Kelvin's here now because he has done something that I really want to ask everybody. Like, has everybody in here made a trade with somebody, either like a major trade in person or on Instagram? I think within the last couple of years we have, right? All of us?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there are some different, varying levels of collecting going on here. Al and I are probably the most similar because we love the player we collect and we try to get anything and everything. We love it all. So letting a card of that player go is almost impossible. But then Trevor just talked about trading a shield for a shield of the same player. You know what I mean? Which is like, I can't even imagine doing that. And then Kyle, you've got some different sets. So you might be able to say, I want this gold prism more than I want the clear synergy. So I'll trade one for one. But how do you guys decide what you're going to let go? That's my next question. Because for me, if I don't have a dupe of it, unless it's like a dual signature, it's not going anywhere. So how do you guys, how the heck do you guys do it?
Oh, that's a rough one. I'm not going to lie. So one of the big trades that I've had in the last couple of years was through Instagram with YQL cards there. And he ended up having a 2014-15 PMG green of Ovechkin to his jersey number. So the number 8 copy. And I ended up having the 2016 Connor McDavid PMG green in PSA 9 there. So the McDavid was not something that I intended to let go. I did make up my mind that I couldn't collect all the PMG green years, so I just narrowed it down to one. But I did want to keep a few from some of the other years, and I figured McDavid was a good choice to keep. But things came down to just talking it out over a series of months, actually. So basically what happened is it started with, hey, I'm interested in your McDavid, and I didn't want to sell it at the time. So then he deferred to trade deals, and he offered that up. And I kind of took the bait because I really wanted a nice Ovechkin for PMG, and I figured, hey, I might not complete the 2012 PMG green set, and the Ovi might be one of those cards, as well as the Gretzky, that I might not be able to afford. So what would be a good substitute? This might be it. So sometimes you got to let go of ones that you want to keep, and they're always tough decisions. Letting go any of my PC sets or cards from those sets is always a long, kind of arduous process in my head. So it took some time, but you kind of get broken down and realize it's not the end of the world. You just got to kind of change focus on occasions and kind of look towards the future. Don't think of the past. I've made some bad decisions in sales and trades before, but ultimately you just got to stick with it. So
Kyle, didn't you get one of these in that trade?
I do have one of those. That was a different trade, but yeah, I've made
Gotcha.
2 big ones with them.
Gotcha.
The OV one was my favorite, and I consider the biggest, but I did get one of those from him in the trade as well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So Matt, I'm basically the same as you. If it's not a double, I'm generally not trading it. And part of the reason for that is because I'm still looking to complete sets, right? So the Edmonton Expo a couple of weeks ago, I pulled in a card from Panini, the Jumbo Materials, auto something or other, auto patch, numbered out of 5. It completed the 9-card set for me from, I think it was from 2011, 12 or 10, 11, one of those 2 years. Okay.
I'm trying to stay muted as long as I can here, so you guys just keep going. I don't know. There might be a bear outside if anyone wants to see it. So I'll let y'all know if I see a grizzly walking around out there. But go ahead, Trevor.
So I'll say this too. Trading night for me, I probably only took cards to trade like 25% of the time. Most of the time I went there, it was just to make connections and talk with the other collectors. And you know, you never know what it's going to lead to. So I've got a second item here I wanted to show. This one. So this is the game ticket when Iggy scored his 1,000th point. Okay. And the person that made it for me is Brett Miles. He goes by Bam Linden because he collects Linden. And it's a custom card, obviously. And we just started talking at trade night. And I said, hey, you know what? Collector on Hobby Insider sent me one of these tickets. And I want to do something with it. Have you got any ideas? And so he started talking to me about what the possibilities were. And then here's the back of it. Okay. So, I mean, you know, most people, you get a ticket like this, and what do you do with it? Throw it in a drawer. That's what I do with some of my old tickets. But this was special. I wanted to do something special. So shout out to Brett for this one.
All because you went to trade night too and made that connection. Yeah, just reaching out and having conversations with people. That's what I'm so excited for the National. I know, Trevor, you talked about this. You did this when you were at the Expo, just going around and talking to different vendors, just like Kyle going in and hanging out at the hobby shop and talking to somebody. Look what happened from that. You know, like take the time to go make those connections wherever you're at, whether it's a hobby shop or you're at a card show. If you can, if you got a good vibe with somebody, you might as well. I mean, get something out of the experience. So anyways, Trevor, you were going to say something there before the grizzly bear decided to break things up. Remember what it was?
I don't recall. I think it was something regarding this gold prism, but
okay.
So actually, I could follow up with that because I do have some of that trade because I made a big deal with YQL that was separate from the Ovechkin, and that was kind of exchanging one of the sets that I deemed not worth chasing, opposed to what I wanted to chase in the future. So I have a couple of the cards from that trade, and they are all the gold prisms there. So we got Bobby Ryan. That was a nice addition. I mean, some of these guys, you think what happened to these guys? Like Cody Hodgson, he was a big up and comer, and it just it did not pan out for him. But that's the fun about chasing sets. I find you kind of just you get nostalgic about all these guys, and then I'll show the Stamkos as well there. So just a couple of them. So
nice,
but
that's a beauty.
Yeah, you just you kind of collect all these random players. So you got the stars, but you also have the ones that are in and out of the league, and it brings you back to fond memories of kind of watching these guys. Some of the plays that you've seen them make, maybe some heartbreak, some excitement if they were on your team. So it kind of brings a whole different aspect to collecting, and that's what I love about it, and the deals that could be made like that. So
to answer the question though, Matt, you know, my thoughts on trading, I definitely personally don't see need to keep any duplicates, so I definitely am willing to trade all those, but I also am willing to trade, you know, anything that I deem kind of replaceable.
Mhm.
if I can obtain a card that, isn't replaceable, like a 101, a shield, I don't know, anything big, a gold prism, those aren't necessarily irreplaceable, but I would trade a limited logo for a gold prism all day because there's only 10 of them and you see them way less often. I don't know. I'm definitely attached to my cards, but if I'm trading something for, a card that I would rather have, then I really don't see an issue with it as long as it's something that I can replace down the line.
So I'm actually curious, what is your threshold on what is replaceable? Because there are some sets that I chase after that the numbering may be a little higher, such as 50, like the grand finales from SPX, or if you're chasing, for example, the Synergy set, that's probably my most fun chase to date. And you got, depending if it's vets or legends. Oh, beautiful! Yeah,
Nice.
I think I have one of those in here as well. It's buried. So, but
I have a story with that one, but I just thought you mentioned it. I thought I'd show
oh
it.
yeah. No, they're beautiful cards, right? So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and the Synergy, for example, the legends are to 8, the vets are to 18, and then the rookies to 19 or 9. So finding those, I mean, I have not seen the last card for the legends that I need is the Hasek for the 2018 set. I've never seen one since its release in 2018. So
Wow.
it's to 8, and you should be able to find another copy, right? You see a
Right.
bunch of to 8s from the cup on eBay all the time, but that set, no chance. So
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. And the older stuff, like the 90s stuff, it's, I don't know that stuff as well. So it's harder for me to speak on. There's less bold stuff that is really desirable for me in that time period. Le Cavalier came in 98. So it's really from there on for me. But yeah, I mean, honestly, for all the semi-modern stuff, I would say, print run of 10 or less, I would kind of deem irreplaceable. Like my gold prisms, like I said, I wouldn't get rid of. I have Stamkos credentials to 7. I wouldn't get rid of that. Like I said, any 101. The sparkling diamonds that I got from you, Kyle, of Kucherov out of 5, I definitely wouldn't get rid of that.
Who? I have to keep it going, man, because you can do the same thing to me. By the way, feel free.
Yeah, it is hard because, like, the prisms, there are 10, and you would think that you should be able to find one in a few years if you wait. But I've looked for a Kucherov gold prism his rookie year, 2013, for several years, and I've never seen one pop up. I've seen 2, and the same guy has them. But I've never seen one really pop up that's truly available for sale. So it is kind of hard to play that game. It's kind of dangerous.
Those sets are very elusive. The 2 years of Prism. I know the whole backstory behind them and crazy low print run, but yeah, the what was it? Kind of the extended portion that has Kucherov and McKinnon
Anthology.
and all that was released as like an extra pack as a box topper, and same with 2012. So it's very interesting stuff, very tough to find. So
yeah.
Well, and it's definitely sorry, I just think Al and I can share some similarity here too. Is you mentioned like print run can be deceiving. I mean, there's some Marc-Andre Fleury's that were from his first few years in the league out of 50 or 100 that, for instance, the what is it, the 0809 OPG, the rainbow out of 100 that has the Gretzky rookie card design. I mean, if I have the year right, it took me 3 years almost to find the out of 100 version. So, I mean, even out of 100 can be very deceiving. You know what I mean? And when you're player collecting at the level that Al and I are, as opposed to you guys who are kind of have these tiers of importance with your cards, for us, all of them are important, So like letting a card go out of 100, sure, it's replaceable. Let's admit it. But if it's older, it's going to be way harder to find another one, let alone find one in that condition. So that's why in my mind, I just say nothing is available unless it's a duplicate, because then you're just opening yourself up for like having to decide amongst 1,300 unique flurries or triple that of a Gilna, like which ones am I going to let go and bring back in later? I don't want to hunt for those cards again, man. Some of those took 2 years to find. Does that sound familiar, Al, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I was going to add too that with so many platforms now, with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook groups, so many groups and everything.
Oh, man.
I mean, you mentioned 90s cards. I try and cut back on my Facebook stuff. I don't join a lot of groups, but I'm in 2 groups that focus mainly on the 90s. And there's another group. I've got 2 friends in Finland, so I joined their group over there. And you see a lot of stuff over there that's across the pond. We don't even see it over here because it's just in their forum. They're not sharing it over here, right? So something could be out of 25, but if the right person is seeing it, or somebody tells them about it, like what happens with me on Instagram with the reels, then it's gone. I've seen cards, like even again the cards that have sold within the hour on Instagram.
Wow.
And if somebody hadn't messaged me and said, hey, take a look at this reel, or somebody's got a sale going on over here, I wouldn't even have seen it.
It's one of those double-edged swords, right? Where it's so interconnected, and so many people can be looking out for you and help you find things, but at the same time, there's so many platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just having the time every day to be able to search through everything, you just can't, right? So you have to kind of choose what you're willing to look through, and then hope possibly that you get linked to these oddball stuff, right? Because if there's European players that you're trying to collect, there's going to be a ton of those cards in Europe, and you may not see them unless you're in these European Facebook groups or some obscure sites, right? So it's tough. It really is sometimes.
It seems like it gets, I don't know about you guys, but there's times on Facebook, because, Trevor invites me to a group, and then Brady invites me to a group, then Al invites me to a group. Now I'm in like 8 Facebook groups. And some people cross post 6 times to the same one. It's like, oh,
yes.
Sometimes I will mute for 30 days, all of them, because I'm like, all right, I just have to trust that if I see something or my friends see something, they'll tag me. If not, I can't do it anymore. So I guess my next question is, we got about 13 minutes left just for this episode, but let's talk about this whole Facebook group thing. Like, how do you guys manage that? Are you one of those go and post looking for? Do you find yourself having more success with that? Because I've found some really nice cards just saying, what do you got a flurry? And all of a sudden, like the Black Diamond Band of Color showed up. Oh my gosh, there it is. Been looking for this for 3 months. Or do you have more success just kind of hanging out in the background and maybe people finding stuff for you? How do you manage that part of your lives?
I'm hanging around in the background and people find stuff for me. I try to limit my Facebook activity as much as possible. I'm still not a true convert, I guess, to Facebook. I spend most of my time on Instagram. So for me, Facebook's not really in the equation too much.
Okay.
I lean over there with Al as well. Instagram's my main draw. Facebook's tough because, again, like Al said, that's just I don't really spend the time on it. Although there are some great groups there. When I do scroll through, though, you just never know. You might kind of hit the jackpot once in a while. I have put out searches on there, but it's tough. It just depends on the day, whether it's a hit or miss. So Instagram's definitely where you can find collectors of the same likeness, right? And kind of connect through there and possibly get some leads. So
I've exhausted like all resources trying to find cards. I've definitely had good success. Like I do it, at least once a month. You'll see me post in Facebook groups, the big ones, just saying, I'm collecting Le Cavalier, shields and honorable numbers. I think that was my most recent one. Show me what you got. or, I'm buying bolt shields and gold prisms. I've done that several times. Never found a prism that way, but found 2 shields that way that I've added. So,
Okay.
I don't know. I've done that. I look up hashtags on Instagram and just we'll scroll for like hours, and I'll go to like bolts collectors and look up their followers and just scroll and find other bolts accounts. I'll exhaust all resources kind of to try to find cards, but I've definitely had a lot of luck on Facebook posting for stuff, and definitely with Instagram, I've had a lot of community assists as well. I mean, since I've been added to, the little group chat that Mitch added me to, I've probably been in there like 4 or 5 months and added, 20 cards through that chat from other people seeing cards for me that, I may not have been first to or may not have seen it all otherwise. So, it's always helpful when people reach out, but I try not to only rely on that.
Well, let's, talking about Instagram, I think we all share that opinion that Instagram has been the best hobby decision that all of us have made. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think for me, not just for the cards. I've always said the cards are like the second best thing about this hobby. The people are the best thing about this hobby. The connections that we've made. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love looking at nice cards more than anybody else, just as much as anybody else, but knowing where some of these have come from makes them so much better. So we could go for hours, but I would like to hear from each person a specific connection you've made on Instagram that's been super meaningful to you or very helpful to you. So you can go either route you want with this. And I'll just Jesus, so many, like I could really just go on and on, but I got to give out a shout out to somebody who's going to be on here soon. He's a fellow teacher, is Logan Lomac 12. He has been amazing and just sending me different things. He's always on ComC, so he's found me a few cards that I didn't even know were on ComC. He's like, dude, did you know this was on there? So he's always been looking out for me, and he and I have kind of a similar taste in some of the cards that we're going for. So he might be looking for a Kane and he sees a Flurry, or vice versa. So I think that connection that I made almost 2 years ago, it's really been awesome to build that friendship and to know that we're helping each other out, trying to achieve some of our goals in this hobby. So big shout out to Logan for that.
I can go. The first person that comes to mind for me is Jeff Winkler. He's somebody that's been, a huge help for me. I leaned on him a lot early on, just kind of asking for advice on buying stuff. But he's also, he liquidated his bolts personal collection at some point and went for limited logo sets. And, he basically gave me first dibs on everything that he had, and it was extremely easy to work with him. He was very transparent about, what he paid on stuff, and, he didn't have to do it that way, but he chose to. And, this is one card that I have from him. I think this is one of the more recent ones, but it's a Stamkos rookie year.
Beautiful lightning bolt.
Yeah, sick.
Nice patch.
Wow.
And then the Lecavalier honorable numbers 4 out of 4 that I have is from him. I've had a lot of my best cards come from him, and he's been extremely, generous and just, very easy to work with. So I can't thank him enough. And I've paid it forward. I've told him, anything that I ever move, he's got first dibs on for,
Nice.
Same thing, exactly what I paid from him. So, it's nice kind of having those connections. Can't expect everybody to kind of be that way, but it's nice when things really work out like that.
Definitely.
I would put my Instagram connections into 2 categories. Here I am, the teacher again, categorizing things.
I like it.
Realistically, I think it works for me this way. So I've got certain people that I have conversations with all the time. And we might not even be looking at cards. We're just talking about things, right? Like Tim, Turco Cards, is a guy that I talk to a fair bit, or used to a lot more. But and when I was getting ready for this episode, I thought, well, just off the top of my head, I'm going to see how many names I can put down of contacts that have done good things for me. And before I knew it, I had a dozen names on a piece of paper. Okay.
Nice.
So anyways, that's one category. The second category would be obviously people I've done deals with or trades with. So I pulled one card out as an example. So this has been a favorite series of mine. This is number 2 out of 5. It's from Team Canada Master Collection. So shout out to 99 Gretzky Cards, who's Nick, because I've probably got about 3 or 4 cards over the last year from that series from him. And he's always, just contacting me out of the blue and saying, hey, guess what I got? Because he opens a lot of stuff, apparently.
Right.
So.
Nice. So there's a product that I would love to open just one time, not just because Fleury's got some nice stuff, but it just, I don't know what it is about it. I don't even particularly like Team Canada, but the cards and the way that it's packaged, it is such a beautifully done and designed set. So
wasn't it like $1,400 a box when it came out? It comes in a big wooden box.
Yeah, it does.
I've seen empty boxes on eBay listed for like $250.
Wow. Well, at least you're going to get that much out of it, right? If you're one of those people who likes to try to break even, which is the worst way to do it. But beautiful set. And he's an awesome guy. He did that thing where the Gretzky card traveled around the North America. I was a part of that. That was cool. Kai, you want to wrap this episode up for us? I'm sure there's so many that have helped you achieve and some of the hobby goals that you set out to do with your sets, but is there one off the top of your head that stands out?
So I try to keep my page pretty structured so people have an idea of what I'm looking for, and there's just a list that goes on forever for people who've helped me out over the years. But I'll give an honorable mention to Frank or Porco. He's helped me out a ton acquiring some really hard to find pieces. So I always appreciate him and the hard work he goes through to find all these cards. And but the big one is a connection that's kind of lasted, whether we're talking daily or whether it's been a while and we're catching up with each other, would be Billy, which is I think his handle is House of Cards 1. So we have similar tastes, and it kind of grew from there. But it actually all started on sports card forum type of deal. So Blowout and Hobby Insider. I kind of got to know him through there and transitioned to Instagram, and we liked what was posted on each other's pages, and it just all started from there, right? It kind of developed from, hey, we both kind of like the same stuff. What are you looking for? I could help you here, type of thing, to when we are ready to let go of some of these pieces, we're kind of the first people we contact, and as well just having patience. For example, if he's going through a spell where he's taking care of his kid and he can't really get back to messages and in a week's time or something like that, it's not a big deal, right? I'll hold the cards for him, or same way around, right? So, and he's contributed a lot to my Prism Golds, my synergies, and hopefully I've contributed a decent amount back as well in trades and sales between us. But it's always fun talking to him and picking his brain and vice versa on what sets we like, what's new and exciting type of deal. We kind of shared the same love for synergy and how it is relatable to essential credentials from back in the day. So just that's the one that really stands out for me, as much as I'd like to yammer on about everybody else, but that's the big one. So.
Well, we're definitely going to spend more time on this topic. We just wanted to kind of peel back a layer here, and I don't know if everybody will agree with this, but hearing Kyle talk about Billy, who I recently sold one of my nicest Jocelyn Thibault cards to, having a collector that you've made a connection with where you get excited for helping them add something and seeing them excited about it as much as it is for yourself when you get a card, I think having that back and forth is just as rewarding. Like I said, helping them get a card as you getting one yourself. So I think that's something that I've grown to appreciate a lot after being on Instagram. And one of the best parts about So, well, Kyle, Trevor, Al, thank you for opening this topic for us. We're definitely going to probably do like a 2, 3, 4, 5-parter. But this was a really good way to kind of open this discussion up. And yeah, definitely appreciate you guys for coming on and sharing some of your stories, and look forward to doing it again. So yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Any closing thoughts from anybody before we sign off?
I just want to say I enjoyed hearing everybody's stories and kind of how they came about and built some relationships, and just some friendly advice to anybody who's listening or anybody out there. Just chat with people, have conversations about what you're interested in, what they're interested in, because you never know, it might open up your world as far as what you collect, and something you may have never seen before that just stands out. So
For sure. Feel free to reach out to especially any of us that have come on this show. We'd be happy to talk with you, but definitely good to do that. Trevor, Al, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that this was the opening, and you're looking forward to parts 2, 3, 4, 5, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah,
I've got a lot more. I mean,
Mhm.
when you look at the people that really impacted you and made you push the boundaries, you can say that they've helped you chart your course. They really have. So it's always fun to hear those stories from people.
And it's good to pay homage to the people that have helped us get to where we're at, because we've all had so much knowledge we've had to acquire over these years. I couldn't have done it without making the connections I have.
Yeah, I would just say, don't be afraid to get involved in Instagram and Facebook. I basically was closed off to Facebook for a while, and I've had a great experience through there. Overall, very positive experience. I've only had a couple bad things ever happen, and a couple hundred positive experiences, and just making connections like we talked about. Instagram is obviously the same way. I think that's a consistent theme on this show, so no surprise there. But I don't know, just try to take advantage of all the outlets that you have. Like, watch people's lives, interact with people. Try to always be nice and leave the door open. Don't no need to be rude to people off the bat.
Definitely.
Because you never know. You never want to burn a bridge with anybody, and it's always just good to be nice anyway. So yeah, that's really all I'd like to add. And thanks, Matt, for hosting this and having me on as always.
Awesome. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the playoffs this week. I know Reed is probably we barely heard from him, so he's probably going through his phase, and Mitch is riding on cloud 9. So hopefully both of them can get to a good place with that. But yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.